backfield. Can they do it again? Yes, they can!
And the catch is made by Taj Washington. Touchdown, USC.
Blocked by Embiid! Timmy, yes!
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Beef Upfront podcast here on Pig Swap Media. This is your host, Ryan Coyle, joined as always by Joe Kmetz, and with special guests tonight as we continue our March Madness breakdown coverage of each region. We're joined by the man, the boss, Sean Barnard, as we finish up with our last region that we're breaking down, the South region, headlined by Alabama, all the way up at number one. But Joe's been on here all night. This is our fourth episode. We still got one more to go after this, so a lot of episodes coming out, but welcome, Sean. Thanks for coming on. Ready to talk some hoops?
Yeah, props to you fellas for ripping all these out. And yeah, even throughout all Sixers season, all NBA season, March Madness is for sure the best time of year for basketball and for all sports. So I'm excited to chop it up, and I'm ready to get into it.
All right, cool. So for all the other episodes we've been doing, we've done the Midwest, we've done the West, we've done the East, and we've just gone from top to bottom for the region. And so we'll just start it off with number one at the top here. I have been given nicknames to every region so far. I'm nicknaming this one the region of overs. I think this is a region that we see a lot of points in. You got Alabama, who can really score the ball. Charleston can really score as a 12 seed. Creighton and NC State can both put the ball in the cup. Baylor can score. Missouri, Utah State, that's projected as 155.5 the total. We're supposed to see some points in that one. Arizona and Princeton, 154.5. Like, we could get a lot of high-scoring games out of this region. So excited to break this one down. But we start with number one, Alabama. They'll be playing the winner of the play-in game as the 16 seed, Texas A&M Corpus Christi versus Southeast Missouri. So, fellas, before we get into that game, might as well just throw your winner out for that one. But it's a 2:45 tip on Thursday on CBS. So, Sean, who do you got? The Corpus Christi Islanders or Southeast Missouri? And then who do you, I guess, have eventually losing Alabama after that?
Yeah, I'm rocking with the Corpus Christi Islanders there. The fire jerseys, by the way. I was looking at them today. I was very impressed with how good looking those with the blue going on there. But yeah, I think whoever comes out of that is taking the loss to Alabama here. This one I don't think is too much of a hot take, but Brandon Miller's the real deal. I think there's a real chance he elevates himself to like the number 2 prospect after this tournament. He can do it all, create his own shot, 19.6 points per game, 8.3 rebounds, 40.1% three-point shooter. I do have some concerns about this Alabama team going deep in it. If their shooting isn't going to be good enough, their free throw shooting isn't great either, but I definitely don't think it's a concern in the first round, and I have them going through pretty easily here.
Joe?
Yeah, I completely agree. Everything. I'm going with the Islanders here in the first round. Shout out the Red Hawks, though. First tournament since 2000, I believe. Good for them making it. But Islanders are a pretty decent basketball team down there in the Southland. I was watching, actually, their championship game. It's the only time I've watched them play. They were down big early to Northwestern State, but they came back, and they ended up winning pretty handily. So they're a pretty decent basketball team, but it's not going to matter. Alabama big. Don't overthink it. Give me the Tide.
Yeah, I'm going with the Islanders as well. They actually have a kid on their team that I played against in high school that is 2 years older than me, and I'm 1 year removed from college. So he must be like 25 years old right now, but he's still playing, still chugging along. And they went to the tournament last year, so it's pretty cool to see them go back-to-back. Maybe their head coach potentially moves on and gets a bigger job after some good success. But I'll take Alabama to win and to cover. I don't care what the number is. Neither of these teams have seen Alabama up close and personal this year. But just real quick on Brandon Miller. Sean, when I was watching the SEC title game yesterday, it said ESPN had Miller as their 4th-ranked guy. Who do you think is the 3rd above him? One of the twins?
Yeah, possibly one of the Thompson. I think Amon's the higher one out of them. That's my only guess because from everything, pretty much start to finish, he's been the best player in college basketball this year. So that's weird, though. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I was assuming it was one of those guys because I don't think any of these college guys would be above him. But, yeah. So, the Brandon Miller show rolls on at least for another week. But the winner of that game, most likely Alabama, of course, will be playing the winner of this matchup, the 8-9 game that features number 8 seeded Maryland out of the Big Ten versus number 9 West Virginia out of the Big 12. This is the first real game of the tournament. This is on Thursday, 12:15 on CBS. West Virginia comes in as a 2-point favorite, over under 139, and starting from then till about Sunday at around midnight, I don't think I'll be leaving in front of the TV. So really excited to get this one on the board underway. Joe, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I think it's going to be a pretty good game. Ultimately, I have West Virginia here, kind of like Coyle, what I've been saying all night. I feel like a broken record at this point, 4th podcast in. I'm not betting against the Big 12 in the first round for the most part. I like West Virginia here. Maryland coming out of the Big 10. The Big 10, very, I've been saying that I think Fugaz, I don't like a lot of teams out of the Big 10. I think I only have 2 Big 10 teams winning in the first round across the entire bracket. But give me the Mountaineers here. Going to be a really good game, and you're going to set up a pretty interesting matchup for Alabama in the round of 32.
Sean?
Yeah, this is one I could see going either way, so not one I've really thrown any dollars on, but I am leaning toward West Virginia getting the win here. A little bit of a contrast of styles here and how these teams are constructed. West Virginia is scoring 76.3 points per game, which ranks 70th in the nation, versus Maryland at 70.4 points per game, which is down at 201st, versus West Virginia giving up 71 points per game, which ranks 207th, versus Maryland, which is 63.2 points per game, which is 26. So kind of a strange offense versus defense, and kind of who gets the edge there is how I think this shakes out. But I'm not going against West Virginia, and I do think they get the edge here.
I like West Virginia too. Going back to what you were saying about the styles, I think that's also kind of independent about the leagues that they play in. West Virginia in the Big 12 is a lot of teams that can get up and down and score, and the Big 10 has really been a uglier league this year, kind of just like a muck it up type thing. But I do think these two teams are both very physical squads, despite what the numbers might say. And I think we could be in line. I know I called this the region of overs, but I think we could be in line for an under in this one, like a 65-60 type game. All the other 8-9s I had a real tough time with, but I really like West Virginia in this one. This was the first or the only 8-9 game that I just penciled in West Virginia right away. The Iowa-Auburn, the Missouri or Memphis, Florida Atlantic, and the Arkansas Illinois game, I could all see going either way. So with that being said, with my utmost confidence in West Virginia here, Maryland probably will roll pretty easily, but I think we see a physical game between these two. Kevin Willard, though, coach at Maryland, only 1-5 in the NCAA tournament. That was the main gripe about his time at Seton Hall. Let's see if he can maybe change the fortunes here. I still don't think Maryland's as talented as they need to be. But like I said, two physical teams, I think they tough it out against each other. But I'm going to take West Virginia and just the battle test kind of thing that me and Joe have been talking about pretty much all season. Ride with the Big 12. They've been through the wars. Intrigued to see if that maybe comes back to bite them and they're just worn down at this point. But I think that might be later in the tournament and they are able to get by in these first-round games. So give me the Mountaineers there. One of the most trendy upset picks. I think this might be the most trendy one. This is number 5, San Diego State versus number 12, Charleston. 3:10 tip on True TV on Thursday. Aztecs come in this one as a 5-point favorite, over under 141.5. And it's been a pretty common theme of some of the episodes. Some of these West Coast teams getting screwed in terms of their body clock time. This is a game, I believe it's in Orlando. So it's like a noon tip-off there for San Diego State. And I doubt that they've played a noon game like for their body clock the entire season. So intrigued to see how they kind of bounce back in this one from that. Not as much of a disadvantage as like USC was that we talked about in the other episode. But Sean, do you like Charleston to potentially pull off the upset here with their 30-plus wins on the season?
Yeah, I hate to feel like I'm kind of going with the crowd and taking the sexy pick here, but I am taking Charleston to get the upset here. I think they're a solid squad who can score the ball, and they check a lot of the boxes that I look for in an upset. Scoring 80.8 points per game, which is 14th in the entire country, and rebounding is especially what jumped out to me. 37.4 rebounds per game, which ranks second in the nation. 12 offensive rebounds per game, which is first, and they can shoot the lights out too. They can get hot. 10.1 3-pointers per game, which is ninth. And a solid free throw shooting squad too. So I do think they got the ingredients of the upset, and I'm taking them to be the 5-12 upset of the day.
I'm going to go with the Aztecs here as a 5. Joe, this reminds me a lot of last year with UAB over Houston, where it felt like everyone was riding with UAB, and then Houston wound up coming out and winning by 14. Like there's always the 1-2 trendy upset pick, I guess, and I think this has the potential because when you see 30 wins next to a team name, you might want to jump all over that. But this one, I went pretty deep into the archives to find the numbers. I know Charleston loves to get up and down and shoot the three. They attempt 30 a game, which is second best in the country, but they're only shooting 33.4% from deep, which is 219th best in the country. So they make a lot of three-pointers at 10 per game, like you said, Sean, but it takes them a high amount of volume to get there. And then when you compare that to the way that San Diego State likes to play, Charleston ranking 22nd in pace per play, so they love to get up and down, but San Diego State ranks 299th in pace of play. They love to slow it down, and San Diego State defends the three-point line really well, 16th best in the country in terms of their opponent's three-point percentage. I just think with the amount of volume of threes that Charleston needs to get up to make them, and the pace of play that San Diego State plays with, and their ability to defend the three-point line, I just don't see the kind of success adding up. But Charleston's just out there shooting the lights out, and San Diego State's not able to go score for score. I'm definitely going to favor Charleston in that regard. But I just think if San Diego State can control the pace of play, those kind of other factors, the ability to defend the three-point line and keep this game at a snail's pace, would be heavily in favor of the Aztecs. So that's why I'm going to go with them. And I think we could see a lot of money coming in on Charleston money line, and the Aztecs. And the books really clean up on Aztecs -5 here. So that's why I'm going to go with San Diego State. All right, we'll hop over to the next game then. We'll go to, and then when Joe gets back in, but we'll go to another game that's looking as a pretty trendy upset pick potentially. That's number 4 Virginia versus number 13 Furman. 12:40 tip here on True TV. The second game of the tournament on Thursday. UVA comes in as a 5.5 point favorite here, and over under 132.5. What do you like on this one, Sean?
Yeah, it's kind of a similar construction of these two teams, kind of how they line up. Furman's another team who can get up and down, 82.1 points per game, which is 8th in the country. A lot of the same kind of positives, but I just don't believe in this Furman team as much as I do Charleston. They haven't played a ranked team all year. I think Virginia comes in and takes care of business. I think people are overthinking of one, and I'm laying the 5.5 points.
All right, Joe, we hopped over to Furman, Virginia. So do you want to give your Charleston, San Diego State pick and then go on to Furman, Virginia as well? Joe?
Yeah, I'm a sucker. I'm taking Charleston and Furman, both winners. Kind of like what you guys said with Charleston. Charleston loves to make the three. They shoot a lot, to get there, but they do love to score. San Diego State and Virginia both like to play slow, and that's kind of why, teams can hang around, and that's not what you want in March. You kind of want to put away these Cinderellas early because the crowd starts to get behind them because, everyone loves rooting for the upset pick. So I'm going Cougars and Paladins, Furman going to the Sweet 16 against Alabama.
I'm riding with you in Furman too, Joe. Another game, as Sean mentioned, with pre-contrasting styles. Haslametrics has UVA as 360th in the country in pace of play. So we have UVA at 360th, and then we have in the West region, we have St. Mary's at 361st. So 4 of the slowest teams in the country at pace of play. It shows that, you can play whatever kind of style you want. It's whatever works for your team because they're 5 and 4 seeds respectively. But when you get to the tournament, it's a one game or you're out. So you have to be able to bring in, you have to be able to control your pace. And while Furman isn't a super up-tempo team, they do get up and down a little bit more. They come in at 149th in pace of play. I just feel like this is another upset a lot of people have their eyes on, and a 5.5 point spread here kind of pushing me towards the Furman direction. When you look at Virginia and when they have had tournament success, they've had future NBA players or at least draft picks on their roster. Ty Jerome has carved out a little role in the league. DeAndre Hunter is a serviceable starting type of forward. Kyle Guy had a little bit of a run. I think he's overseas now. But this Virginia team doesn't really have an NBA guy, I think, on the roster. Furman's won 14 out of 15 entering this tournament. 2 fifth-year seniors leading the way, and Mike Bothwell and Jalen Swanson, who combined for 33 a night. Those are 2 guys who probably, if they left after last year for their grad year, they could have transferred up and been playing at high major. But I think they stayed at Furman because they wanted to get it done, and they've been rewarded for that. A gifted offensive bunch. They average 81 a game, which is 14th in the country, or 18th in the country, I believe it is, and then they're 14th in the country with 17 assists per game. This Furman team, Joe, reminds me a lot, and like their numbers are very identical to that Ohio team that beat UVA in the 4-13 game a few years ago, and they had an NBA draft pick in Jason Preston, and they put up 78 a game. So a lot of parallels in this one, which leads me to taking Furman, and I'm going to take them as well to go on to the Sweet 16. And I see Joe's head popped out again.
Wow, that's it does make sense. And the other thing that swayed me toward Virginia, which is kind of contrasting that, is I like teams that'll take care of the ball. 8.1 turnovers per game, best in the nation for Virginia. I do trust them to just not make the mistake, but Furman's another team that can catch fire. And as simple as it sounds, I think for both the Charleston and the Furman matchup, it's going to come down to making or missing for when they kind of go on that run.
And it's what you're saying about the turnovers too, especially in the pace of play that they play, like they can't turn it over. If they get into like the double digits, they're screwed with how slow that they play, because they rely on just a good shot pretty much every time down. But it goes back to as well, like Virginia is not an easy matchup. I know I have Furman winning, but that defense that they play, they can destroy your entire sets and everything. So I think Furman's going to have to try and get out in transition if they're going to want to win this one. All right, this is my favorite game in this part of the bracket now, in the South region. That's number 6 Creighton versus number 11 NC State. A bunch of guys that can go get buckets in this one. 4:00 tip on TNT on Friday, St. Patrick's Day. Drinking for about 3 hours probably around by the time this one. So be feeling good for this one. Excited to see what this one brings. Creighton's a 5.5-point favorite. Over under is 147.5. Joe, what do you like in this one between your Blue Jays and my Wolfpack?
I'm going Blue Jays here, and a lot of people, this is kind of becoming. I don't like calling an upset because it is NC State, but a lot of people out there are picking the Wolfpack here to advance. I don't know. I really like this Creighton team. Kalkbrenner, had to go against a bunch of elite big men in the Big East this year.
Joe's got the Blue Jays. I'm gonna go with NC State here. As I said, I think not just this isn't just my first or my favorite game of the first round in the South region. I think it's my favorite game in the entire bracket in the first round. I've been an NC State backer all year thanks to their guards and DJ Burns, who we love, the refrigerator with ballerina feet. But Creighton was also a Final Four team prediction of mine at the beginning of the year. So I'm kind of torn here. I don't really care who wins this one at the end of the day. I'm just excited to watch it, and I think we're going to see a lot of points. So it might just be the over, might just be the play in this one. Creighton, though, does have a better and deeper roster, and I think a better coach. But just the shot-making combo of Terquavion Smith and Jarkel Joyner is super fun to watch, and I think they make some noise. If those guys are making shots, they're going to be in this game, and they might even run away with it. But if they're missing shots, they do run the risk of potentially getting blown out just because they're not going to stop shooting, and they're just going to keep going. So the quality of play in this one is going to be dependent on how those two shoot, but I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt here and say they go out and pull off an upset here. And then they have a Baylor team next round that's been struggling. We could see an 11 seed in the Sweet 16 there.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat in that I like both these teams quite a bit, and would probably have each of them winning a game on pretty much most other matchups. So kind of disappointed to see them. I like this Creighton team a lot. I'm probably laying the plus 5.5 for NC State, just kind of I think it's closer than that. I think this is a game. I lean toward Creighton still getting the win, but I also think Terquavion Smith and Jarkel Jones are kind of strike me as tournament guys. So I could totally see them getting hot, being ready to take over. And I've kind of flip-flopped on this one a ton. I do think 5.5 is too many points, so I think that's the safe option here. But yeah, I could see this one going either way. I'll be rooting for whichever team does come out of this, and I do think Creighton ends up finding a way to win it.
Yeah, and I think it was Joe who said it earlier, or it might have been in one of our other episodes, but when you have these underseeded teams coming in and they have like exciting players like this that are making some shots, they're going to feed off like this crowd energy with the crowd trying to get the underdog to go to the next round. So I think this one just has the potential to be a really fun matchup. 3-14 game now. We have number 3 Baylor versus number 14 UC Santa Barbara. 1:30 tip on TNT on Friday. Baylor is a 10-point favorite. Over under is 144. What do you like on this one?
Yeah, this is one I don't think people should overthink. I think Baylor kind of cruises comfortably through this one. Normally, you kind of need a team to get hot shooting for it to happen. I don't think that's going to be the case with UC Santa Barbara. They attempt just 15.9 3-point attempts per game, which ranks 351st in the nation. Baylor's got some legitimate NBA talent on their team. Keontae George is the real deal. Adam Flagler, I like quite a lot. A good squad there. I think they're more talented all around, more athletic all around. I think they're going to control this game start to finish.
Yeah, I like Baylor too. I think it was the other game. It was Kansas State, Montana State in the East, like 2-3-4 teams. And I think the 3 seed coming out of the Big 12 are far and away better than their matchup in this one. Baylor is a team like NC State and Miami. I think I've really been backing all year, and I've just been saying how good their guards are and how important that is, especially in the college game. And I feel like I'm a broken record with that line, but the type of guards that they have can make it to like the Elite Eight. So I'm going to have to back Baylor here. And I do have them eventually beating the winner of that Creighton versus NC State game as well, going to the Elite Eight. Santa Barbara, looking at their schedule, they've only played 4 games total in Quad 1 and Quad 2. That's like the big, I guess, cutoff line between quality teams and non-quality teams, and none of those games were in Quad 1. They haven't seen anything like this Baylor trio of guards with Flagler, Cryer, and Keontae George all season. I think Baylor wins big. I'm going to take them a first half cover, probably a full game cover, just everything positive in Baylor's regard. Really like them despite the recent struggles here. And then Joe's internet's not working, but he does have Baylor as well, and I think he has him winning pretty big too, just based off of his Big 12 kind of picks from out throughout the rest of the show so far. We go to the 7-10 matchup now. Number 7, Missouri versus number 10, Utah State. 140 tip on TNT on Thursday. Utah State minus 1.5, over under 155.5. This is one of the main games why I nicknamed this the region of overs. I think we get a track meet type game in this one. But what are your thoughts on this matchup, Sean?
Yeah, I got Utah State getting the win. I could definitely see it being high scoring too. What scares me about Missouri, giving up 74.6 points per game, which is 306th in the country, also allowing 27.7 rebounds per game, ranking 353rd in that category. They pass the ball well. They can score on their own for sure, but I just don't see them kind of getting stops. This Utah State team can really shoot the ball, shooting 39.3% from 3 this year, which is 5th in the country. That's impressive stuff, and that's enough that can win you a game if you can get hot. Also a good free throw shooting team, which I think always tends to come into play come tournament time. So I do think Utah State gets the win here, and I agree. I think it's in for a high scoring one.
Yeah, this was another one, a very tough game to pick for me. Missouri, I think, is a team that I kind of got on the train at the beginning of the year, so I kind of, I guess, rode their momentum and kind of that take. So I feel kind of obligated to pick them in this one. But the Aggies are a team that over the past few weeks I've been pulling for too, because all the metrics really like them, but some of the bracketology stuff still wasn't giving them the benefit of the doubt. So I am happy to see them get in the field. Could be the track meet of the tourney, though. 155.5. I'm going to have to take the over in this one, see if we can potentially get the scoreboard to explode or something. Wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way in this one, but whoever wins this one, I am going to take to upset Arizona in the next round. Both teams pace-wise can match up with the Wildcats. The Wildcats really want to get up and down and score, and I don't think either of these teams will be fazed by that. Give me the Tigers, though. They play really hard, and I think their speed and their pace of play it potentially makes them a dark horse Elite 8 team. I was looking on DraftKings earlier. To make the Elite 8, they're plus 1,200. I think that's worth a sprinkle because in their path, they have Arizona, who is a team that has their flaws. They've slipped up a few times this year, and they're a different team away from the McHale Center. And then they could play Baylor, who we've just talked about, who's been kind of struggling, or an NC State or a Creighton team. It's certainly a doable path to get to the Elite 8 for a Mizzou team that has had their fair share of pretty big victories this year. So give me the Tigers here, and Kmetz is going to take the Tigers as well. We were kind of talking about in the last show, we don't really believe in the Mountain West. They were 0-4 in the NCAA tournament last year. I believe he did take them to beat Boise State, though, so he's going to give them one win, but he already faded San Diego State as well. So it's another fade here, but we'll go with 2 Mizzou picks and 1 Utah State. And then the last matchup here in the South region, in the first round, you have number 2 Arizona versus number 15 Princeton, 4:10 on TNT on Thursday. Arizona comes in this one as a 14.5-point favorite, over under 154.5. Another game where I'm expecting a lot of 3-pointers and a lot of points in this one.
Yeah, I think Arizona is more legitimate than you do based on your last comments, but I am taking the other Tigers, Princeton, here to cover the 14.5. There's always something weird about the Ivy League style when it kind of matches up with one of these big time teams that kind of throws things off, make it look a little different. And this Princeton team isn't terrible. I think they can hold up on their own. 76 points per game, which ranks 78th in the country. Pretty solid rebounding team, 35.8 rebounds per game, which ranks 15th. Arizona loves to get up and down. They're fourth in the country at 82.7 points per game. I do think talent wins out and Arizona gets the job done here, but I think Princeton at least kind of gives them a little scare and it stays within striking distance, and Arizona ultimately gets it done.
Yeah, this one reminds me of a game on the other side of the bracket in the Midwest between Texas and Colgate. Like Colgate and Princeton, two very similar teams, like to run very good offense and shoot a lot of threes. And we talked about it, I believe it was for the Xavier-Kennesaw State game. I said, like, if you're going to be one of these lower seeds that pull an upset, you either have to play, like, super crazy defense that really throws a team off or really shoot the three ball well. And Princeton can do that. So I think that they can kind of hang around in this one, and then they get those threes up in a hurry. But they can't match up, I think, athletically wise with Arizona. I do like the over in the first half. I could see both teams coming out and really just getting up and down the floor, and Princeton potentially to cover like in the first half, maybe if it's like 7.5 or something, I could see him going into the halftime break down only like 5 or 6. And I expect like the similar result kind of in Texas Colgate, where in the second half, it's just too much bodies and too much athleticism for them to get by. But I'm with you. I do like Princeton to potentially cover the 14.5 there. And Kmetz is going to roll with Arizona as well. All right, now we go to the fast forward to the Elite Eight. And well, who do you eventually have, Sean? I guess breaking down out of the Elite Eight and go into the Final Four to represent the South.
Yeah, I have Alabama coming out of the bracket, and I do have them beating Arizona. So I do have it staying true with the 1 and 2 there. I think this Alabama team, when they're playing their best, there's no team that can touch them in college basketball. It's just they don't always hit it there, and I do think that they're going a little cold shooting wise is going to ultimately be their downfall. I do have them losing in the finals to UCLA is my ultimate pick there, but I do have Alabama doing enough to get out of this conference, proving this region, proving that they are the best team and getting the job done there.
I'm going to take Alabama over Baylor. Might just be a little – Baylor was my pick to win it all at the beginning of the year. And I still am just buying their potential. And some of their matchups, like Baylor's main struggle this year has been defense. But, like, if they're going to make it out of this region, like, they're going to need to score the ball. NC State, Creighton – Missouri, Utah State, Arizona, like all those teams can really score. And I think that works out well for Baylor at the end of the day. And Bama, as you were saying, Sean, they've just been the best and most dominant team all year, and they have the best player in college basketball. Baylor has the guards, great coaching, experience. We'll be really excited if we got this matchup. I think Alabama has a cakewalk to the Elite Eight, while the bottom half of this bracket could potentially cause some big-time chaos. I also wouldn't be surprised, to see that NC State or Creighton winner potentially find themselves in the Elite Eight too. But I'll go Bama over Baylor to go to the Final Four. In Kmetz's pick, he has Zona over Alabama, and he has Zona in the Final Four. Just going back to the points, I think he's a believer in this Pac-12 this year and what Arizona brings to the table. So. That'll do it for the South region, I guess. Any last-second comments, Sean, on the region before we head out?
I think this is a fun one. I think the South region might be my favorite, just kind of looking around at some of these matchups. The NC State Creighton matchup might be the one I have circled the most in this tournament, to be honest, just out of pure excitement and looking forward to watch that. But, yeah, I'm excited to get this whole tournament rolling. Best time of the year for sure once again. So I appreciate you for having me on, and it was fun breaking it down.
Yeah, so just remember this is the region of overs. Make sure you're taking every over, and when all the unders hit, don't come back at us for that one. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Make sure to go tap in on all those other region previews as well when they're out. And then we have one more final episode breaking down the entire bracket, which will be coming out shortly as well. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll talk next time.